Audubon 2456.
State of the Save is back, here to cause more chaos or have fun fan theories. This was an idea that was funnier in my head than it came out when I started talking. Thank you guys for joining us today. My name is Eric. With me as always is Michael. How are you doing, Michael?
I guess you could say that worked in theory.
It worked in theory. That's a funnier joke.
That's what I had planned, and then you add the theory to it.
To be honest with you, I just had the idea of causing chaos, but then I was like, God damn, the game's chaos theory. I gotta work theory in there somewhere. What I should have done is told you about this joke ahead of time so we could have played off of each other in a hilarious banter. But that's not what happened. And,
no, this show's off the cuff, all
Yes.
improvised. You never know what you're gonna get.
There's never been editing or anything like that. There's never been like times which random cuts happen. That was just me fucking around. All right. Who knows if this even makes the final edit. Thank you guys for joining us. We are here playing Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. This is part 2 of our playthrough. Thank you guys for listening to part 1. We saw some really good jump in numbers there. We really hope everybody enjoyed it.
I want to say straight up, the Splinter Cell subreddit, of all the subreddits I posted on to promote the show, you guys in the Splinter Cell subreddit are the nicest subreddit of them all. Like, man, wow, I'm going to check this episode out, man. Thanks, really good. I do appreciate your points. Here's a few tips of some stuff coming up. I really think you'll like this next bit. Like, wow, awesome.
As people who promote a lot of the show in subreddits for old video games, there's a certain type of fan that still hangs around in subreddits for, series of games that are not currently active, right? And those subreddits can either be the coolest places ever, where people are just there having a good time, wanting to talk about games that they care about and love, or they can be the most hostile pit of vipers you have ever walked into, where it's like, hey, we're playing this game for the first time. Look at you fucking casuals. Ah!
I can't remember which one it was, but my favorite comment of all time, positive or negative, was just no.
Yes, that was my favorite one. That was I enjoyed that comment. It was just like, thank you for your constructive criticism.
Fair point. Okay, cool. Love it.
Yeah, we appreciate your being constructive here. It's always fun. The internet, right? But yeah, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. We're here to finish up our conversation/discussion on this game. This game has been a wonderful ride. I think we came out of part 1 extremely high.
Yes.
We were just super pumped up. We thought the game was, just amazing. And I think part 2 has a ton of high points and is still, some amazing stuff in part 2. But I think there's a couple of things here that I really, really want to get into that I just am confused on and why these decisions were made. That's one of the best things about doing this show and talking about video games that have kind of fallen away from the conversation is looking back on them and trying to just figure out why at the time was this decision made.
I'm right there with you, because it feels like the game designers there's some very, very strong levels throughout this entire thing, but it feels like at some points during the games they looked at it going, we don't want this game to feel too samey, so we're going to change up the gameplay in a way that does not fit the systems of this game. And there's a couple of sections where I just got so frustrated where I stopped playing it like how I wanted to play and just had to give myself over and hope that what I was doing was going to elevate me forward. And a lot of that was save scumming after every single room at a certain point, especially one mission that I otherwise loved, until I hit a wall where I'm just like, this isn't fun anymore. What's going on here? So I totally overall want to emphasize that I really like this game, but I feel like there's some points that are hitting me that's preventing me from hailing this as one of the greatest stealth games of all time. Maybe at the time it was, but looking at 2023, I'm like, this is so close to being great. It's frustrating for me.
I think it's a 95% of the game is amazing, and there's a solid 5% there that's just such a vast quality difference that it's almost mind-blowing. And, we'll get into it when we do our kind of walk through the game, kind of breakdown. But I am not surprised that your sections that you did not enjoy are probably going to be the exact same sections I did not enjoy, because it is the moment in which I feel like the designers stopped trusting how solid their systems were and started doing things that just was completely outside of what made this game so enjoyable. And it's just, some of these decisions are just mind-blowing. But,
and a couple of them are like, they seem like good ideas on paper, where, not to get too into it, but like, here's an enemy that can detect you in the shadows. On paper, that's like a moment where you're like, okay, that's going to change up their gameplay styles and everything. But what it really does is turns into an insta-kill, like, oh, I'm seen, I'm dead. All right, cool, thanks.
There's also several sections in that are forcing you towards combat, like a heavy combat focus, like a straight-on one-on-one combat. And I can tell you right now, through most of this game, if I was seen, I was dead. I didn't actively, because I almost like when I was seen, I always viewed it as a fail state at that point, because I didn't want to be seen. And to be pushed towards a combat-focused sections felt really weird. The game doesn't seem to do that well, so like it just feels like an odd choice. And like I said, I don't want to badmouth this game by any means of the imagination, because I very much enjoyed it. I think it's one of my favorite games I've played in a very long time. But boy, there's some decisions that were made that I wish were not there. Before we get into Splinter Cell, apparently I can't talk tonight. It's been a long day. Let's talk about some other video games that we've been playing and things we've been doing. This is the beginning of one of the most exciting times in video games in a very long time. There was just a ton of cool stuff coming out, and I feel like it was kind of kicked off last week with the release of Atomic Heart. That was a game that I was super excited for. It felt like the first of like many games I'm very excited for. Like, we have Resident Evil 4 remake in a couple weeks, Jedi Survival. Down the pipeline, we have games like Street Fighter 6 and stuff like that. There's just a ton of cool stuff coming. I have completed Atomic Heart. It's been a week and I've completed Atomic Heart. Michael, you want to hear about Atomic Heart?
Sure. Tell me about Atomic Heart. Sell me on this game. Because right now I am very unsure of if it's for me or not.
This game seems to be extremely divisive. I feel like people are either super down with it or super not. I will go ahead and say out loud that there seems to be a lot of technical issues. The developers seem to be aware of that. They seem to be fixing a lot of those technical issues. There seems to be a couple of weird design choices that I'll kind of breeze over. I had none of those real technical issues. A friend of the show, Nick, has also been playing this and has been struggling with a lot of crashes. I had one hard crash the entire time playing it. But I feel like my situation seems to be maybe outside the norm. It seems like most people are having some technical issues. I'm not. I played on the Xbox Series X. But that stuff is there. I want to acknowledge it just because, it is something that's affecting a lot of people's enjoyment. I do also want to kind of voice a slight defense for the developers. This seems to be this developer's first major game. It's a very beautiful game. It's a game with a lot of stuff going on and a lot of systems, and it's quality. So I feel like they maybe they swung for the fences, and there's some kind of rough corners still to smooth out there. This game, I love this game. I had a ball. I mean, I am a little bit confused at people who are having issues with the game from the gameplay itself point of view. There's a lot of comparisons to BioShock. The game makes some straight up references to that. The game knows it's being compared to BioShock. There's a lot of to me there's a lot of Wolfenstein, the new Wolfenstein games in here. The game has kind of a back and forth between kind of like an enclosed dungeon space, I guess is one way to put it, when you're in corridors and exploring facilities. And then there is an open world mechanic in the game. The open world is the weakest part of the game for sure. It's probably best to just kind of get in a car and drive to the next place you need to be and don't really explore a ton of that. There's some cool stuff out there, but it's not strong. There's a lot of respawning enemies and things like that can kind of slog you down. The game is at its best when you're inside those facilities and you're dealing with a lot of the bosses and things like that of the game. This game it's got, like I said, it's not a straight up regular first person shooter, but it has a ton of influences that it wears on its sleeves. Some of the boss fights remind me of kind of some Doom Eternal kind of stuff. There's a lot of BioShock in it with the plasmids and stuff like that you get in BioShock. There's some equivalent stuff here. The big kind of selling point to the game for me is this game is just weird. It's just weird, and it's constantly being weird. From a main character that has a catchphrase called "Crispy Critters," who uses it probably at least once every dialogue sequence. He's constantly yelling "Crispy Critters." A person on the subreddit of this game who is fluent in Russian. This game is developed by a Russian developer. Did some conversations where he believes that that's a real rough translation of a kind of a phrase that's kind of equivalent to like "son of a bitch." And instead of just using the more American or English phrasing, they kind of directly translated it. There's a lot of talk about the voice actor, the main character voice actor. I don't think he's that bad. I think he's an asshole, and I think he's supposed to be an asshole. And maybe some people aren't quite comfortable with the fact that the main character you play is an asshole. So sometimes, the main character is not a heroic person or a cool guy. Sometimes he's just a dork asshole. You get sexually harassed by a fridge in this game.
Okay.
That's how you get your weapons. This game is weird. But it's got a lot of interesting concepts. It's got a world that just feels unique and really well thought out.
Yeah.
One weird fascination I have is the game gives you blueprints for weapons. One of the more common blueprints is the assault rifle. I didn't get the assault rifle till the room before the final boss. But the game, for some reason, gave me about 9,000 rounds of ammunition. So in a game where you're desperately scrounging for equipment and supplies, because it's kind of limited, you don't have 100 bullets for all your guns and stuff. I only ended up going into that last room with 2 pistols, a shotgun, and a lot of melee weapons. A whole lot of melee weapons. They have discussed that they are aware that some of the drops on that stuff is a little weird. So hopefully now you can get your weapons a little bit easier. But the game's good, man. I really, really enjoyed it. I fully embraced how weird it was and kind of how off the wall. I think it just has a ton of great ideas. It's a lot more. It feels very dismissive to call it Russian BioShock, which is kind of like the selling phrase there. But it's got a lot of that kind of DNA, and it's worth playing for sure. I think there's just a ton of really well thought out mechanics in here, and not everything hits. Not everything's going to be dead on. But to be honest with you, I'd rather play a lot of times. I'd rather play games that have a lot of attempts at stuff and is really trying to do interesting things than something that just plays it safe. Yeah. As a guy who plays a ton of first-person shooters and things like that, it's you can a dime a dozen when it comes to like competently made shooter campaigns, but a game that is a first person shooter that has a lot of weird mechanics and weird kind of attempts at doing things differently is vastly more interesting to me than
Yeah,
just
I
a
get that.
straight up campaign. And like I said, I think a lot more than just Bioshock DNA in here. There's a lot of, like I said, the Wolfenstein stuff has to be an influence. It reminds me a lot of the new Wolfenstein games, which I really love. And then there's some Doom Eternal stuff in there with the platforming. There's a lot of platforming. There's a ton of puzzles. It's a very puzzle heavy game.
That's surprising to me.
Yeah, very puzzle heavy, to the point that's a complaint I've seen. But to me, none of the puzzles are frustrating. They're interesting, but none of them are frustrating. It's a lot of like, move these two dots to line up with these two dots, but you can only move them in sections of 3 or something like that. Or,
Gotcha.
timing puzzles. There's a lot of puzzles in platforming. But if it's good, man. It's really been cool. It's really fun. I highly, highly suggest it. I believe that they've already got DLC stuff planned out. I would love to see what they do with it. The game's story is actually, it doesn't feel 100% like complete. It doesn't give you 100% a finished like feeling of like, oh, I know everything I wanted to know, but it has a lot of interesting concepts and ideas, and it kind of has some interesting twists and turns that I really liked. It kept things weird, and I was all for it. So, Atomic
That's what
Heart,
you want, really.
yeah, dude. Like I said, I feel like Atomic Heart is very much highly on my list this year. Like I said, I knocked it out in a week. I think it took me about 20 some hours. I did some of the side stuff and things like that, but I don't have a ton of free time. I got kids and work and other hobbies and lifting and all that stuff to do. So if I dedicate that much time to something, it's got to be pretty interesting. It also has sexy ballerina robots.
That's the main thing I saw from this game going around.
Oh yes, the internet's divided on Atomic Heart as a video game. The internet is 100% behind ballerina robots. I would say that they are not the only like weird characters in this thing, but they knew what they had. I feel like the developers were like, we got something here. We wanna get some extra boost on the internet here. We want to get those Rule 34 people all excited. We got something here. They knew what they were doing.
They saw the marketing, how that kind of accidentally took off for Resident Evil 8. It was like,
they're like, people love big sexy vampire ladies. They're gonna love ballerina robots. But yeah, I really enjoyed Atomic Heart. I think it's worth playing for sure. Probably if you play it now after several updates, you'll probably have a more smoother experience. Like I said, I had very little issues, but I do believe a lot of people are probably having some technical problems. If you're running them on lower power rigs or maybe the like Series S instead of the X or something like that, you might be having some issues. But big fan. I highly suggest it.
nice.
Yeah, so I would try it. Michael.
Yes.
Anything you've been playing before we jump into Splinter Cell?
So, I am continuing to chip away at Judgment. I still think that game is really, really cool. I touched a lot on it on the last episode, so I won't delve in too much into it because it's still most of that same stuff, and then most of what I'm playing now is very story focused. But I will talk about like one story bit that I thought was pretty great. There's one bit where your character has to breaks away from the main story and has to solve a mystery of who ate the cake from the law firm's fridge. So that's pretty fun.
So I have
something relatable.
That kind of links to something going on recently. There's a guy at my work who has just become obsessed with the fact that someone is stealing his Hot Pockets. He has like 4 boxes of Hot Pockets in the office fridge there, and every day I come into a new note that is stating that he's down like 2 Hot Pockets from his barbecue chicken Hot Pockets and 1 pizza Hot Pocket, and he's extremely angry. 2, I did not know that there was 2 people in the ward who be eating the Hot Pockets. I don't think I've eaten a Hot Pocket since I was like 8. But this man, big fan of his Hot Pockets and not happy that people are stealing these things. So yeah, I mean, I can totally understand. Sometimes you gotta take a break from your Yakuza stories to go fight people stealing cakes out of fridges.
He's one step away from hiring a private investigator to do this.
Gotta do what you gotta do. And apparently you know a guy. We can fly this guy in from Japan and he can figure this out for him. I think Judgment seems like a really, really cool game. I think that you're slowly becoming a Yakuza guy.
I am becoming a Yakuza guy. I like 0. I think I'm liking Judgment more if it can carry a lot of what I like about it through the whole game. I think Yakuza 0 started out from the first like 5 or 6 or 7 chapters as a potential one of my favorite games of all time, and then I think we got too involved into the like real estate storyline. So and real estate, just all that jargon just never interested me. My eyes kind of glazed over. So when we did get to the awesome
escrowing, and you don't care about escrowing and making sure you got your homeowners insurances. No, really, I can get it.
Yeah, the side quests were really great in that game, though. But yeah, the main plot kind of everything with Goro Majima though was top tier, brilliant, and everything. So I think I'm gonna try to stick with the like spin-off stories. So Like a Dragon Ishin seems really cool. I did look up today. It is officially in State of the Save hour range by 1. If it was 1 hour longer, it wouldn't be. But so I'm like, all right, we're gonna wish list this. We're gonna wait for the price to hit about $20, and we're gonna make something happen.
That's the one set in medieval Japan, correct?
Around the time of the Japanese Civil War, I think is
so
that era.
That's
you
that
get a
one's
gun.
That's in. Oh well, I mean, they had them. Firearm development was there by that time, so that you get some guns, you can do some damage.
I believe in that game you can summon Kenny Omega with a Pokemon card.
Also seems pretty great. You mean no longer triples champion Kenny Omega?
Oh no.
Yeah, things went bad at Revolution for my boy. But we're not going to talk wrestling right now.
Not right now.
We'll do a podcast one day where I'll talk about the ins and outs on MJF throwing vodka on a child. Things went down at the Revolution. No, I think that one seems interesting. Like I said, the Yakuza games have always interested me. I fiddle around with Like a Dragon. They're games. They are heavy time commitments. And,
they are intimidatingly long.
Yeah,
they're tied to a story with a lot of entries. So
yeah, it can feel like one of those things where it's tough to find an entry point into it. And I agree with you. Maybe the best thing to do is be a side game guy.
Yeah,
play all the side games and leave the other stuff for different people. Are we ready to talk Splinter Cell?
Yeah, I think we're ready to talk some Splinter Cell.
So, I know I went a little bit heavy on Atomic Heart there, but I was excited. I realized I took up more time than I usually do.
Yeah, you had a heavy heart coming into this thing.
It was almost atomic, to be honest with you. I expect similar conversations in the few weeks when Resident Evil 4 Remake comes out.
I did something I shouldn't have done. I used gift card money and I went ahead and pre-ordered that thing.
I got pre-approval from the wife. I try not to buy a lot of games brand spanking new right off the bat, day one. Just because, $70, man, we all got bills. But that one's gotta happen.
all it took was a 3-second clip of the Krauser knife fight. And I'm like, done. All right, I got gift card stacks. Give me. I want it.
I won't watch anything.
To
I
me,
won't watch
yes.
a bit. I watched the initial gameplay footage of the initial village sequence. I said, I guess this is a video game I'm gonna have, and I've not watched a single thing, and I won't plan on watching anything. I'm just going to. buy the game.
You're a stronger man than I. I'm playing that demo as soon as it drops because I'm like,
Nope.
I got it.
Nope.
I need
Not
it.
touching anything.
My thought is, I played this game a million times. Why not play another hour before the main course?
But now, like, you know, those side quests, there's all this extra stuff. Who knows what this game's gonna be? I mean, I feel like this thing is going to be so much more than that original game, which is saying something because that original game is just so much.
I want not to delve too far into the conversation because we are technically in Splinter Cell time here, but is Capcom like the best game developer going right now? Monster Hunter's going strong. Street Fighter's coming back hard. They got Resident Evil in a better spot than it has been probably ever.
I would say Resident Evil's in a better spot, best spot it's been in since 4. I mean, think about it. They've had a run here of 7 and 8, remakes of 2 and 3, and now this remake of 4.
But even at that time, you had stuff like Outbreak, Dead Aim, things that were ambitious that weren't really hitting so much. So I would say now, but also at this time, we also have like Reverse and stuff that we can throw in there.
Yeah, there's weird stuff still coming.
Yeah, okay.
But there is, like said, Street Fighter 6 looks amazing. Every character reveal that they have, whoever was in charge of their character design department did just insane work. Like every character reveal is just like, oh yeah, that's perfect. Let's just do that. Whatever you just did, do more of that.
They did the impossible. They gave Cammy pants, and no one's mad about it.
No, everybody's like, look at the back thing she does. The key to giving female characters like clothing in the year 2023 without pissing off the internet is just have them do one sexy thing, and then people are like, but she's still there. That's the grand marketing strategy now. Also, Zangief's got pants. Like, he's got pants. They covered up his quads. But he's also, like, wrestling dudes. I was like, Zangief looks like he's going to be a ball to play. Yeah, it's Capcom. Firing on cylinders over there at Capcom. Who would have known? 5 or 6 years ago, I thought they were dead. But, yeah, Capcom, man. Keep it up, Capcom. Speaking of which, I played some Guilty Gear today. It's very good. Speaking of fighting games.
Yeah, that does look cool.
Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell. Back to Splinter Cell.
Took me a second. So this section is mission 6 through 10. From a storing point of view, I kind of have my bleh on the story here, but which is weird because I usually love like military espionage stories and stuff like that. I'm usually a fan of those, and this one just doesn't hit for me. Basically, this shady PMC group, we suspect that they help instigate a war in the Asian theater between the North Koreans into South Korea, and of course that gets the Chinese and the Americans and the Japanese all involved. And Sam's out trying to see if the PMC is really dirty, if his buddy who runs the PMC is actually dirty. He's investigating at this point. I guess is the best way to putting it. And like I
we
said,
need to find a guy named Zerkezi for info on what happened with the missile. So it's all about tracking people who have information on climbing the ladder, how deep this conspiracy web kind of goes. It's a very simplistic story told in the most complicated way possible.
Exactly. That's a wonderful way of putting it. It's not a hard concept to understand by any means of the imagination, but they try to make it seem a lot more in-depth than it actually is. So it just gets more frustrating because you're like, I think I understand this story, but clearly I got to be missing something. No, they just do a really weird job of trying to explain simple concepts.
And apparently we're not alone in that. Thank you for validating me, Splinter Cell subreddit, being like, oh yeah, the story is weird. Don't worry about it. The gameplay's why you're here. Gameplay's king. I'm like, okay, it's not just me. That helps a little bit.
Mission 6, we're in Japan.
Hokkaido.
Hokkaido. This mission freaking rocks. I love this mission. There is a ton of cool stuff in here. From, the side missions all make sense and are clear. You're given the bulk of your side missions ahead of time. Things like finding bugs that the Japanese military intelligence organization left behind, and they really don't want those to be discovered. Also, there's really cool, like, set piece kind of stuff. You can grab guys through the walls because the walls are paper. So you can walk up and, like, snatch a dude through the wall, which just feels cool no matter,
really great.
It's
probably the funniest mission. The dialogue here is great. The first guy you interrogate says, "I already wet myself. You should just kill me."
I don't know, man. There's some bangers in other missions, too. Like, Sam, anytime I could interrogate anybody, I just interrogated him. Because Sam has some of the best ice cold killer kind of lines.
Yes.
I love Sam Fisher is great.
Snarky old man stuff. Fisher is brilliant.
And this isn't even snarky old man Fisher yet. He's going to get older. This is snarky middle-aged Fisher. So basically we're here because there was going to be a meeting, and we are trying to observe that meeting and try to see, hey, what exactly is going on? Is this PMC dirty? We think maybe that the friend of Sam's is not involved in this. Maybe it's just one of his lieutenants that's kind of went rogue here. We're not entirely sure. This whole mission has a ton of great stuff. The environment's really interesting as you're going in and out of these different buildings. The lighting is very weird and unique. There's lots of shadows behind walls and things like that. That's very unique and cool. Mm-hmm. There was civilians in this area, so you have to you can't be, popping people in the head no matter who you see. You got to be a little bit more cautious with your hostilities.
We're working our way from, like, narrow areas all the way up to, like, the big white near mansion style area near the end of this thing. And what I thought was really cool is at the end of it, the realization that it's all in a circle. So when you exit out that area to the helicopter, you realize you're back basically to where you started. And it kind of just guided you through all the way back from, like, to, like, the insertion point. I'm like, that's really cool. Areas that feel realistic are my favorite part of this game. Like, when they just make it feel like actual tangible architecture, like the bank coming up the bathhouse, the battery, and the cruise ship, and, like, the area leading to the mansion here are my favorite thing about this game.
When you can navigate them because they make sense.
Yes.
When you go, okay, of course, if I go this direction, I'm in a locker room. So if I go to the back and left of the locker room, here I am in the pool. Like, it makes sense. Like, you navigate the environment off of common sense kind of logic.
And connected to both those things is the showers, because of course they would be next to the pool. That's where they would be. Connected to the locker room, yes.
And also, it helps you, in my mind, memorize the map, which is very important in a lot of these missions, because sometimes you're backtracking or you're going back to get a side objective or something like that. It's important to be able to remember what the layout is.
Yeah, if I were to go back and play these missions a year later, I think I would be able to navigate them again through memory, because I feel very strong about those particular locations.
Especially
specific missions, like, again, the bank, the mansion of Hokkaido, and bathhouse especially.
Yeah, and I would say the cruise ship is also on there. I feel like
the cruise
really
ship,
yeah. This whole sequence ends in a death of what we believe was going to be our main target, and the realization that no, this whole PMC group is dirty. And now it becomes the question of who are they working for. That whole sequence is really, really cinematic because we're observing it over on a rooftop. And so you see, like, all that sequence go down, and then the break one thing I really enjoy about a lot of these missions is they give you objectives, and then throughout the course of the mission, objectives are canceled and changed. So it feels like it's a fluid experience, like Sam's having to deal with things on the ground, you know? You're not just going in and the checklist you get at the beginning is the checklist you leave with. You're constantly picking up objectives and getting objectives canceled and, you know, changing objectives on the fly because the situation is fluid.
It leaves room for surprise. I think we talked about last time, like, the overall story of this game is kind of a mess, but the story of you tackling these missions is really interesting. From, like, it doesn't matter the names or the alliances, but I'm in here to kill this guy. This guy left. So what does that mean? Where do we go next in order to track this guy down? What does that mission look like? Stuff like that, and how it all connects together. The through line there is what I find really fascinating. So it's more of like an emergent story that takes place versus an overall, like, written one.
Also, coming across things like, oh, look, it's a weapons cache that has information that might link it to these other group. So now, you know, we're adding on an objective of tracking those weapons, you know. It just feels, like I said, it feels very fluid, and it feels very kind of realistic for how these kind of things would go down.
There's one outside the game thing that happened during this mission that was kind of funny that happened to me. So I was early on this mission. It was my first time sitting down to play this thing. I went and was, like, tackling it very slowly and methodically, and I went to go shoot out a light. At the exact moment I pulled the trigger and the light shattered, my TV cut off, the whole power of where I live just went off, on 3 times, and then cut out in a loud, like, as soon as I shot that light. And there was a car wreck not far from where I live that crashed into a pole and knocked out power for about 3 hours. At that exact moment I shot out the light, so that terrified me. It was like a whoa moment of shooting the light and cutting the power.
That's some immersion right there.
Right there.
That, you know, I've played some, like, horror games with the lights off and stuff, but that's a level of immersion I just don't know if I feel comfortable with, to be honest with you. That's funny. This whole sequence, like I said, it does do a great job. It wraps back around. I feel like there's nothing bad to say about the first 3 or 4 first 3 missions of this section, because then the next mission we go into is Battery, which is we're infiltrating the North Korean missile site, in which the missile that was shot at the American ship that blew up the ship came from. And this is like a classic stealth mission.
Yes, I love this mission. I love the build-up where you're kind of working your way through. There's multiple paths to kind of get you to the central location where you're going up to, like, the top, like, mission control tower. I love this mission. This mission is great. I will say, so storyline-wise, before we get in here, the USS Ronald Reagan is taking on duties for the battle fleet. I guess you can say orders trickled down to it. I had that joke written down. I just wanted to throw that out there.
It's a funny joke. I mean, I give you credit. You get a Sam line in there where Sam starts dropping, like, some references to old Reagan, and none of his crew recognize the references. It's just because he's damn old. But Battery is great because, you know, going into Battery, you know, dun 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 dun. You know, the Metallica song. This is just a night of obscure Eric just dropping weird hints and stuff. Going into Battery, the whole situation is that, you know, hey, there's potential for escalation in this conflict in North Korea and South Korea, and everybody's at each other's throats. And so you kind of think, like, okay, this game is going to be about stopping that from happening. And so the progression throughout Battery is, you know, you're exploring, you're finding out that, hey, no, the North Koreans didn't actually shoot this missile. They are not the ones who actually, you know, initiated this thing. And so you're like, okay, I can stop this whole war from happening. You know, as you're exploring the mission, you know, Battery, you're going around, you know, You get some intelligence from the war central there. That's like, where you find out that the general there is not the one who initiated the launch and all this stuff. And there's a great kind of like kickoff sequence in which, okay, we've finally proven it, boys. We've discovered that it wasn't the North Koreans. And at that exact moment, you get the message from Lambert that's like, oh shit, they're invading South Korea. And it's just really interesting to me because I was like, oh, this game's going to be about stopping the war from happening. Nope. Kicks off right there.
Yeah.
And there's some really great sequences in this because you have like the classic stealth mission of navigating a military facility. It's all underground and stuff, so it's all close corridors and dark and, good for stealth. And then you have stuff kicking off where it's like, oh shit, they're going to launch. They're launching missiles. You need to stop those missiles. And it starts giving you time, timers and things like that, which usually I really don't like that kind of stuff. But the thing is, by that point, I had explored the map so much that I had a really good idea where I needed to go. So when it's like, oh,
exactly.
You need to stop this missile launch, I was like, okay, I need to get to this room right here. I know how to get there.
It relies on your knowledge of places you've already been, and which is why this sequence works great. And I also want to talk about how in this section, this is the game. What this game does very well, surprisingly so, is verticality. A lot of the missions have a sense of like scale to them from like the bottom up. Like in the first section, the mission where you start on the ground and work your way up to the penthouse tower. But this is one of I think the only mission that's vertical from like an interior perspective, where you're starting on like the ground floor and then you're like working your way up to like the top tower and everything. There's like an underground level of like one of the first rooms you can go and like work your way through like the piping, and you can see the enemy over top of you. There's a bit where you have to move a missile out of the way so you can move your way up to the top of the room and climb your way through like the missile silo area. There's a lot to love in this mission. This is one of my favorites in this entire game. I don't have a bad thing to say about this one.
It doesn't have like a lot of like, holy crap, look at this kind of like drop your jaw moments.
Yeah.
But it's just so solid across the board that, it's like, okay, this is all good. All of this is high quality. All of this feels right. The environments are, easy to read. I know where I need to be. I got options. Those, the challenges that I'm faced with are, clear to me. I know what I need to do. It's just now executing them.
It's just a straight up good mission.
Yeah. And it's followed by...
No frills, no gimmicks, just here's a really solid Splinter Cell mission. And you're just like,
exactly.
Awesome. I didn't take a lot of notes on it just because I was absorbed in playing this thing.
Exactly. I think it's followed by my favorite mission.
I knew this would be. I'm like, this is an Eric mission.
I love the following mission. So after we stopped the assault on the USS Reagan, but the war has kicked off. It's, I don't know if you interrogated the general up in the war room there, but he basically tells you that like the main attack point, they have the American and South Korean army like outnumbered 8-1 at the border.
Oh, okay.
And there's a lot of talk about like, hey, the initial plan was never to stop them before Seoul because Seoul was too damn close to the border. So we're going to lose Seoul in the initial 72 hours. It's like, that's the line that stuck out to me. It's like, we're going to lose the capital of South Korea in 72 hours. Like, it's not going to go well. And Seoul is such a unique mission because it starts to open. It's one of the things that they explore a lot in later Splinter Cell games that I've played, like Double Agent and things like that, where you're now in a city under siege. Sound stops being a problem because there's just stuff blowing up everywhere. So, gone is your worry about, oh, they heard me shoot out that light. Well, they ain't going to hear you shoot out that light because there's machine guns in the background. It also allows you to be a little bit more aggressive because you're in this, war zone and there's not as much penalties for things like security cameras and things like that. the whole mission just has, just from the opening sequence, it starts off in a child's bedroom that's just creepy. It's basically a safe house that you're in, but they've got it's just like this peaceful little sanctuary that you as a parent create for your children. And then as Sam walks out the door, the whole city's on fire. And it has such a great sound design of the screams and the yells in the background, the automatic fire and the explosions and the destruction and the chaos that's taking place. And as you move throughout the city and you complete objectives, you get glimpses into the bigger event going around you.
Yes.
There's a part in which you're told to interrogate a North Korean soldier because there's another unit that's on the ground of Splinter Cells in training that's trying to get a guy. They're trying to rescue a guy. And he's got moved by the North Koreans. So by interrogating a soldier, you're able to patch those guys in and get the information for this other Splinter Cell team to be able to complete their objective.
Yeah.
So it just feels like this big old ward around you of all these other assets on the ground, and Sam's a singular asset being deployed, trying to control this insanity.
Because, of course, this situation would have a bunch of people from different organizations trying to gather as much information as possible. So it feels organic in that way, truly. And this mission actually reminded me a lot of the opening mission. I think you played it. It's a game we're going to play whenever we can. Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah.
It's very close to that opening, and it took me a lot of that where it's like two opposing forces, and you're just a outside force that's doing his own thing here. And I really like that aspect.
The feeling that, you're all around you is a million different stories. You're just one of them.
Exactly.
And to Sam, this is the end-all be-all of what he's trying to do. But all around him, there's people from all the different sides of this thing. Like I said, there's a Splinter Cell unit that's got a whole different objective and problems on their end. There's a freaking war going on. This is a great storytelling mission. It's also a weird, a unique environment. It's not something like a dark office building or a quiet, military base. This is chaos. You're walking your way through these destroyed buildings, scaling fences. You're dealing with like problems that are more organic, like lights that are flickering on and off because the power surges are happening. So you're sneaking across streets while the light is flicked off, and then when it's flipping it back on and off, you're dealing with things that you just can't straight up engage, like tanks. Like there's stuff on the street that you just can't deal with. You're dealing with the fact that this is a war zone, so no one knows you are there, so no one's going to be helping you. But then you've got friendly forces on the ground that are fighting this thing, so you're sneaking through conflicts while those gun battles going on, and you're sneaking behind the fighting, to try to continue your mission. This whole section is just great.
I
you're
love
basically trying
half of this mission.
Do you not like it once the plane is shot down?
Yeah, that's it.
Once the plane is shot down, you get the drones added to the mix. Which are a little bit just annoying. They're not really challenging. They're just annoying. I can agree with that. I think this.
Yeah, I feel like there's some parts of this mission where I've more than any other mission in this game. Has me asking the question, how was I seen? More than any other here.
Yeah, there's a couple of times where I feel like. No, I think you're right. There's some couple of times where the lighting is a little bit deceiving, where you feel like you should be in darkness and yet somehow they still pick you up. There was a couple of times in which I was sneaking behind guys who were in the middle of a firefight, and they're very, very clearly looking down the street away from me shooting, and then they turn and just light me up.
Yes.
And there was a couple of times that happened to me where a bullet hit me from the people shooting on the other side of the street, and that somehow gave away my position to the people on that side of the street. So it was very kind of like weird in that aspect. I don't quite understand how that works. There is a sequence at the end where the plane is shot down. I tried to rescue the pilots.
Yeah, I did.
And
that.
I could not freaking rescue them motherfuckers. I just couldn't rescue them because I could not get past that tank. It picked me up every time, even if I was moving completely in darkness.
Completely in darkness. That meter didn't move, and somehow that tank would pick me off. But I wanted to see. I rescued the pilots just to see not necessarily what would happen, but I feel like that was, again, like I love half of this mission. That's one aspect I absolutely love. The fact that there's a choice that makes no difference in this entire game, but it's something Sam would do. But like, we're gonna bomb this place. It's like, well, these pilots are still alive. I'm gonna get them out of the zone, and you're getting yelled at by your superiors saying, no, that's not a mission parameter. If you fail this mission because of it, and then Sam's like, I don't care. I gotta do this. I gotta save these pilots. This isn't. Yeah, but I love that aspect of it. I love the pace of this mission. It's a lot more aggressive and actually encourages you to use your lethal abilities. Not that there's any tactical advantage to it. It's just like it feels more pressing.
Oh yeah, I was a lot more lethal in this. I'm generally fairly non-lethal, actually, which is against my personality in most of these stealth games. But my lethality goes up depending on the situation.
Yeah.
So in this mission, I was highly lethal. I was dropping fools. You know, if I grabbed you from behind, you ain't getting choked out, buddy. You know, unless they were friendly forces. There was a couple times I had to choke out friendly forces, and I just choke them out and hide their body to the side. You know, I was like, you'll wake up in a little bit. But, you know, for hostile forces, man, I was dropping fools. Also, I felt like I had more ability to use some of the louder options. So there was a couple of times that I would, like, gain high ground on a group of guys, and I just throw a frag down there.
Yeah, this is the one mission I use frag grenades.
Yeah, it's like, this is a war zone. No one's going to notice that, you know, no one's going to be like, there's a guy sneaking around here after a frag goes off because there's bombs going off everywhere, you know? It just feels more like it promotes more of lethality there. Like I said, I totally understand that the second half isn't as strong as the first by any means. I love the first half, all the way up to getting to the plane. The fact that you're basically there to grab data before the North Koreans can get to it. So it's like you're trying to get to this besieged building in the middle of a war zone, and to them it's a small objective, but to you it's the primary, you know?
Yes.
It's a really, really, I love that whole concept. I love the concept of Sam's story being a small one in a situation that's just massive. And just a ton of different situations going on around you. Interesting thing, if you don't rescue the pilots, he just has a line when he calls in the airstrike where he's like, God forgive me, or something like that. He basically, you know, like makes a reference to realizing what he's doing is wrong.
That's cool. It's very subtle. Most players probably wouldn't even like recognize that you could do something like this, but the fact that it's in there just makes that
it's very subtle,
more powerful.
And it's not like he harps on it. He doesn't like, oh, you know, I can't believe I'm doing this. You know, it because it's a shitty choice no matter what. You know, you want to rescue these people, but at the same time, you do have to destroy this site for the greater good kind of thing. And yeah, it's just very subtle. It's well done. I really enjoyed Soul as a mission. The bathhouse is next, mission 9. The bathhouse is a tale of two cities. The first part of the bathhouse is great.
Yes.
I love the first part. Awesome. You want to talk about cool stuff? There's sequences in which you are dealing with like steam,
yes,
and stuff like that. So you're entering like steam rooms, and you can like straight up walk through the middle of the room because it's so steamy nobody can pick up on you. There's all these great like environments like the pool area and all this stuff. It feels like a lived in real place. Everything about this is awesome. I think the first part of the bathhouse is a solid mission.
This would be my favorite. This would probably be my favorite mission up there if it wasn't for where this mission just completely goes off the rails, I think.
the mission goes off the rails, and after you realize that the client for the PMC group is the Japanese, you believe it could be the Japanese government, or it could be particularly what we will find out is this particular guy, the guy who's head of the Japanese intelligence organization, basically. After that, things take a massive downturn. There is another sequence in which those opposing forces fighting. It's very loud and chaotic. And at first I was like, okay, I can get behind this. I'm got to get my way out because you're chasing after Sam's, buddy, ex-buddy. I think his name is Lambert. No, Lambert's your guy.
Shetland.
Shetland is the name of the guy. You're kind of trying to chase him down before he gets away. The game promotes a lot more combat here. There's a lot of rooms that are pretty much almost extremely difficult to sneak through. And I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. I don't really like this. I don't want to just fight head on. The shooting's not that good for
the problem with this section is that it completely... Sorry to interrupt you, but I have to see where you're going.
No.
It's completely ripping choice away from you. There is a puzzle at that point where it's like, there's one critical path to get through, especially once it becomes like a combat zone. There's one critical path to get through where you're not instantly riddled with bullets. And that is the tale throughout the rest of this mission. What this game does very well is opening it up and being like, here's this big open room, figure out how to get through. There's some especially in this mission, earlier in this mission, environmental interactivity that opens up your choices tenfold. And then here, it's, you were seen instantly because you didn't knock out this dude at this particular time, so now you lose. That's not what this game does well. I feel like it's a choice made to throw a wrench in the game's mechanics, but it completely backfires here. And it becomes the worst part of this game for me.
Exactly. It takes all the stuff I loved about playing this game, and it says, hey, man, you don't really have those options anymore. You're going as the chance to move throughout the environment and find little hidden ways to get past people. I started just using all of my equipment instead of in a fun way, which I usually used it. Well, there's a guy who I need to get by who's going to... If I open this door, he's going to see me. But I have the shock round. So I'll open the door, pop him with the shock round. And I can drop him before he can set the alarm off. Or I got the airfoil rounds for civilians. Don't want this civilian to see me, but I need to take him out and then go grab this guy from behind. I'll airfoil the civilian so it's non-lethal, and then go grab the dude. All these different kind of ways to use the equipment. That stuff's out the window. Now it's just I'm using them almost like guns just to get through these areas. And then that leads to the worst part of this game, which is a sequence in which as you are leaving the bathhouse, you have Sheffield placing bombs that you have to go defuse, which is annoying enough as it is because you got to find the things in like a minute or whatever. But then it starts throwing bad guys or regular dudes into the room, which really the only way to go defuse the bombs in time is just shoot them. But they shoot you and kill you super quick, and your guns don't really work like that. They're not made for like head-on fighting. So it's like, I guess I have to figure this out like point blank, like climb here, shoot this guy in the head, drop down here, throws a flashbang at this side, and run over. And it's like, well, that's just save scumming at that point.
Yeah,
every time I did a bomb, I saved.
I save scummed so hard in this section. Every single room that I got through, I save scummed. Starting from when you get the information that you need that Shetland's bad, and then you exit out. That is the turning point for this mission, in a way, where after every single thing I did right, and it wasn't like once I figured it out a way that got me through, it still did not feel good because I got seen. I was lethal. I took out the room, but I had only a minuscule amount of health left. That did not feel good. What feels good is when you sneak through without being seen. Exactly.
You didn't feel like a competent operator. You felt like you were just you felt like you weren't playing the game as you should be playing it, but that was the way the game was making you play it.
Yes,
It just didn't feel good. That whole bomb sequence broke me. I was going to finish the game that night. This would have been like Sunday night. But I just didn't have it in me after finishing. Because I usually did like a mission a night. And I did mission 8. And I was like, mission 8 is freaking awesome. And then I did mission 9. And I was like, man, I'm just going to finish the game tonight. And then all that happened. I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to finish the game tomorrow. Because it just was completely opposite of what I wanted from this game.
I also got to the bomb sequence and then left. I'm like, I don't have to do this right now. I don't want to do this right now. I'll come back
I was
tomorrow.
so frustrated. I was going to beat that section. The game was not going to beat me there. And then it just leads to a moment in which there's a standoff, and he's straight up like, hey, Sam, you wouldn't shoot me. And Sam shoots him because Sam's cold.
Sam said the thing. He said the thing.
Yeah, you got your chaos theory, and then the credits rolled. It was weird to hear him just straight up say the title of the game. He goes,
that makes me wonder. I haven't played Pandora Tomorrow. I wonder if he says, this is really shaping up to be a Pandora Tomorrow.
There's not going to be a Pandora tomorrow. That's what you got to say. And then the next game, maybe it was, I don't remember. It's been a while since I played it, but he's just like, I feel like a double agent. Sam, I think in Blacklist, I feel like there's a moment where they straight up say like, Sam, you've been blacklisted.
No, because isn't that the name of the criminal organization, the Blacklist?
Maybe.
I think that's what they're doing. I think it's a group called the Black. So that is at least tied to the thing. I was like, where's the chaos theory coming in? And Sam just throws it out there. This is your
personal little chaos theory.
All caps notes. He said the thing.
Yeah. So all this leads up to that we've discovered that the Japanese government is involved with the launching of the missile. We don't know how high it goes up. We know that there has been a kidnapping of American personnel within the facility there, and we're having to go in and figure out what's going on. And boy, does it feel like a de-escalation after everything that's been happening. It feels like the game shoots its shot one mission too early. Like, it feels like you have the big moment where you kill the guy, and now let's go do something else.
Yeah, right? So, there's no story weight to this mission, but I like this mission.
I like the mission, and then I hate the mission.
Okay, so this is your one. This is your one where you're kind of split on, like I was with Soul?
Sort of. I like the mission at the beginning. I like infiltrating the office building. I like going and talking to the guys who are being held hostage. When you are going down into like the war room area, did you get captured?
Yeah, but I reload my save every time, so I didn't see how that whole thing played out.
So if you get captured, you basically end up in the area by the server room. You have to pick your locks on your handcuffs, and then you bust out, and you choke out the guy who was torturing you, and you break out, you get your equipment back. And basically, it just starts you down there with all the alarms set at 4. But there's only like 5 dudes down there, and you bust out in a way where they don't know that you busted out. So it's actually kind of easy. It's actually a little bit easier to just go ahead and get captured. and then, you're down there. The only thing is the servers are all underground because the alarms have been set. So you just gotta have to go hack the retinal scanner and bring the servers back up. That's the only difference.
Gotcha.
It's okay that way. I think it's kind of neat from a story point of view. And it's cool that you can do it either way, but whole lot of on that whole section. Also, I feel like you've had so many go ahead.
I was gonna say there's only one room I don't like in this mission, and that's the bit where it's the big open room with the staircase that's going up. For some reason, no matter what I did, the guard up at the top would always spot me and work his way down the stairs. I don't know.
I think I got him pretty easy because I basically did the whole, you see me, and ran off into a dark corner. and brought him into that dark corner with some little woo whistling, and then came around the corner and knocked him out with a punch to the face. So he went down kind of easy for me, but I can totally see what you're talking about because he has verticality on you.
Yeah, I love the bit in this mission where it's the initial opening where you gotta get the garage door open and then sneak your way in. Then you gotta time it right to like kill the lights and you have to time it to go and pick the lock at the door while you're doing with a camera that you probably did the electric charge on. So the camera's you're in a time crunch there. It's the most intense lock picking section in this game because you're waiting for them to turn the light back on. You're waiting for the camera to come back on and work your way to you. You have like I think all 6 pins to do at that section. I love that bit. I thought that was my favorite. Probably one of the most intense parts of this game was just that one door.
No, there's good stuff here. Don't get me wrong. I actually like the whole sequence when you're sneaking into the war room. Because it's really cinematic with the red lighting that goes all around the room, inside the room, like the secured room. The
big sci-fi looking Borg cube thing that you're breaking into.
It's did you get the Metal Gear Solid reference in here?
There's a what? I guess I didn't.
If you grab one of the guys down in the room in front of the Borg room, and you interrogate him, you ask if there's any more of those non-lethal supplies sitting around, and he makes a reference. He's like, what do you want me to do, shake you and have it all fall out of your pants?
Yes, I did write that down. Yeah. Okay, I did write that down.
There's a cool little Metal Gear reference there that I think is enjoyable.
There was a Half-Life reference in the battery level.
Yeah, there was a Half-Life reference there. There's a couple of interesting levels there that kind of make fun little references, but I did like that one. What do you think I'm going to do? Shake you and have you follow your pants?
Fall to the floor.
This is where we discover that, hey, it's not the Japanese government that's doing this. It's this particular admiral. He does his big villain speech where he's like, you will let us go back to being the Imperial Japan. Basically, is his whole plan. My favorite thing is, it's like, oh crap, where's this guy at? Oh, he's just in the basement. He's just one level down from here. He's not even like far away.
I did like how you had to go down the elevator, but the elevator cuts off, so you have to figure out how to like scale down. And the sequence of events here to get to where he is super cool. You have like the elite level guards, but they're in a room to where you can like wait around the corner for them. It's not a big open room that no matter what decision you make, it's the wrong one. So it makes sense that there's a way to counteract them without feeling cheap.
It shows that the elite guards are not the problem. Mm-hmm. It's the design choices in the mission before that's the problem.
Exactly.
The elite guards are not the problem. The idea of like guys wearing thermal vision and stuff, that's fine. It makes sense. You know, Sam's got it. Why wouldn't other people? Especially here. But the problem is in the bathhouse level is they're forcing you into more like head-on encounters, where here you still have options. There's like lines of desks that you can kind of sneak through to get behind them. There's a turret that's like on a track that's going back and forth that's pretty interesting, you know, you have to deal with. After you basically reach the admiral, he stabs himself and tries to commit, what is it, seppuku?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think
it's a non-factor because you just run up to him and hit A and he's alive.
Just pull the sword out. I think how you do that, if I remember correctly, is you stick it in your stomach, you pull it both directions so it like lets all your organs fall out, then you pull it up towards your heart. Like, you don't come back from that.
He just stabbed himself once, and then Fisher just takes the blade out and goes, stabilized. Like
my favorite thing is also like, you know, what they tell you to do in life when you're impelled by something. Pull it out. Nothing bad happens there. There was a cool sequence where you're underwater, and so he's like, just blow up the glass and swim, Sam. I don't know, figure it out.
Plus water pressure. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and like you're not that far under, you won't get the bends or nothing. And that's our ending.
Really weird way to end the game.
We bring him to justice. I guess everybody, despite Seoul being blown up and the North Korean border going hot, I guess everybody just like backs away. Yeah, because that's how conflicts work.
North Korea just sends a
really
note to the capital that says, "Oops, my bad."
Or bad. Centuries of hatred and war, not centuries, but decades of hatred and warfare and anger at each other is just blown up into full-scale warfare. But now that you've proved that the initial missile that started off didn't cause any problems, I guess we'll all go back home.
I say favorite in quotes, favorite trope of anything, that these massive political conflicts are just the result of one bad apple. It was just this one dude working with another dude.
And that finding out it was that one bad apple is enough to make the whole conflict calm down. There's a quote, and I forget who it is, that war is like an undercurrent. It just sweeps everybody under, because every atrocity just causes more people to have more justification for why they should commit more atrocities against the other side. Like so it's like, oh, we figured out the guy who started it, guys. So despite the fact that we destroyed Seoul and killed thousands of people, it's over now, right? Yeah, it's all good. It's a bad story. That is a shame. And it's a bad story, like, overall. Like, the individual stories of the missions, most of them are great. Sam is a great character. I really, really enjoyed Sam. I think his performance is top-notch. I think the great game is great. It's a great game. Great game. Overall story is just a non-factor.
What I would want for a Splinter Cell remake, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to remake, supposedly, the first game. What I would like for them to do instead is just take the best missions from Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow, and Chaos Theory and kind of just make like a best of. Like, here is the best missions remade, and we're going to tell a story that fits like the best missions.
It's just Sam sitting at a bar being like, you want to hear about this time that I went to this battery in North Korea? Or hear about this ship or this bank I robbed twice.
You put the mission in where he robs the bank the first time, and it's a flashback mission, and then you go in the second time, and it has all the upgrades because you robbed the bank the first time.
Yeah. A lot of great stuff. I love this game. I had a ball playing it. But it's a bumble. Like I said, it's a 95% great game.
It's like you're eating at a very fancy restaurant that has some of the best food you've ever eaten. Going, man, I love Italian food. I've had Italian food before, but this Italian food is so good. But there's like a trash can in the corner that smells really bad. And you're like, this food is amazing. What is that? Can someone get rid of it? Please? What's that doing there?
It's like when you go see a movie. You're having a great time watching the movie, but there's some asshole in the second row in front of you, like, talking the whole time. Well, the movie's great, but this one thing just won't let you say it's perfect experience. Like I said, I really ended up enjoying this a lot. I did, but boy, there's a couple of things that this could have been a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I feel like for me, those sections kind of talking about it helps. It's good therapy. Because now I'm like, oh yeah, there are amazing moments in this section that I can reflect on and be like, oh yeah, this game's great. It's just, I
think 95% of this game is great. 5% though. That 5%'s rough. The bomb sequence at the end of the bathhouse, there's just a couple of things. It just really hurts. It just hurts the whole experience.
Some of the story stuff and like the inconsistent enemy AI. If it was if those three things were fixed, I'd be dealing with an all-timer here. But those things weigh it down for me quite a bit. But overall, I'm very happy we played this game. I really, really like this game.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, I've even thought about it. I was like, boy, do I need to go back and play some more of those Splinter Cells? Go back and play Blacklist and Double Agent and Conviction.
I have Pandora Tomorrow. I had it for a long time, but I never put it in and played it. But now I'm like, I should just have it on there and just play a mission every once in a while. Just be like, let's play some more Splinter Cell.
Yeah. I
So,
think that
yeah.
this was a series, like I said, I played Blacklist, Conviction, and Double Agent when they came out. I just kind of missed these early ones. So, and like I said, hey, it makes me more excited about a remake of the first one. I hope that thing is really freaking great because, man, this one's really, really good. Now it's time for us to talk about the next game that we play on this here show.
Let's do it.
We're playing something that's I feel like very timely.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, what's the next game? What's the next game we'll play?
This is our first ever Nintendo game.
Yeah, it is, ain't it?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Yeah.
So, as soon as they announced that this thing was coming to modern consoles, we're like, it's time. We had like a break glass in case of emergency. We have like 3 games for that. One of them is for Metal Gear Solid 4. That's not coming anytime soon. I've given up hope on that. But the other one...
No, what are you talking about? Metal Gear Rising's gonna get a sequel, don't you know?
Did
you see that whole thing?
I was a part of that.
That subreddit was completely convinced.
Or a remaster or something. I was with them. I was like, remaster. I'd love a remaster.
I don't see that happening.
Blasting It Has to Be This Way in my headphones. That game rules. That game has gotten better with it. But anyway, moving on. We're playing a game that's coming to the Nintendo Switch online service on the day that this episode drops. When you're listening to this will be available for you to play. Metroid Fusion.
My favorite Metroid game.
It's my 3rd favorite Metroid game.
Metroid Fusion it's just like, it's probably my favorite game on the Game Boy Advance.
It's a great game. I realized recently, thinking about it, that the Game Boy Advance might be one of the best systems ever made.
It's got a great library.
Oh, so
There's
good.
great stuff on that game. That's the thing, man. Dude, like, Game Boy Advance had a killer library. I would make the argument that, like, Game Boy in general had a great library. Game Boy Color and stuff, man, had great stuff. They had great games.
Turns out Nintendo, unmatched in the handheld department. The best thing they did for their home consoles was make it a handheld. And look at that.
It seems like that's their skill level. I mean, dude, like, hey, I had a PSP. It wasn't any damn good as all those Nintendo handhelds.
You could watch. They're like, you can watch movies on a PSP. You can watch movies on this Game Boy Advance. Here's a cartridge of Shrek.
What are you talking about? That you own a UMD copy of Man of the House starring Tommy Lee Jones? I have a copy of Man of the House starring Tommy Lee Jones with the UMD.
All right, technically that's a video game. I'm deleting Metroid Fusion notes now, and I'm replacing it with Man of the House.
We're gonna watch Man of the House on but you have to watch it on UMD.
Yeah,
so you have to hold your PSP for an hour and 45 minutes or however long that damn
Can
movie
you
is.
emulate UMD movies? I bet you can. That sounds awful.
Why would you do this?
Oh, man.
I also have Air Force One if you want to watch that on UMD. I have a weird
movie.
selection
Watch
of
Air
movies.
Force One on a plane. Yeah, do that.
I have a ton of UMD movies because back when the PSP was crashing hard, they had them like for like $1. And like they were just like in boxes. It's just like, here's all these movies. And for some reason, my father was like, "I bought you all these movies for your PSP." I was like, okay. That's how I ended up with Air Force One. I got Black Hawk Down for UMD. You want to watch Black Hawk Down on the UMD?
Fun fact: Black Hawk Down is my wife's favorite movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a great movie.
A good movie. I like Black Hawk Down. It's a high quality movie.
Ridley Scott, good director. Turns out.
Orlando Bloom dies Orlando Bloom breaks his neck in the first 15 minutes of that movie.
Metroid Fusion.
Yeah, let's go back talking about the game we're playing.
Yeah, Metroid Fusion is an action exploration platform game by Nintendo Research and Development 1.
The best name for a development company.
Right next to Creative Business Unit 3 from Square Enix.
What do we
but-
do? We do business here. We do creative business.
So the prep work for this episode is a little bit scattershot because I had to streamline this because Nintendo has a over 100-year history. So I had to rein this in and really focus on strictly Nintendo research and development one. So to be brief about the studio's history. In the mid-1960s, Hanafudo cards, which were Nintendo's primary focus since their formation in 1889, Hanafudo is a type of playing card that uses abstract pictures for its designs. They were designed as a way to get around Tokugawa-era law banning playing cards. That's a very simplistic history. There's more to it. Basically, they have like little paintings on them. So they're like, oh, these are little pieces of artwork. But of course, people turned them into several card games to get around the gambling ban. Really cool history there. Gunpei Yokoi, an electronics engineer who was hired by Nintendo, developed a grab claw toy in his spare time called the Ultra Hand. The company president loved it and put it to market where it was a hit. So Yokoi developed other toys for Nintendo, including the Love Tester, a device that had two metal spheres connected to a meter, like a Geiger counter. Two people would hold hands, and the meter would determine their compatibility on a scale from 1 to 100.
Wait, it was metal spheres on a string?
Yes.
Michael, that wasn't for compatibility. That seems like another one of those. This is totally another innocent thing.
I mean, Nintendo...
This-
If you want to get into it, Nintendo did own a chain of pay-by-the-hour hotels. So...
Mario's goes, come on, boys. It's time to go down the pipes. Oh, just... Yeah, Mom.
In 1972, Yokoi was appointed general manager of Nintendo R&D after the creation of their first electronics development team. In 1978, development at Nintendo had become so multifaceted that they had to split the R&D teams. R&D 1, which would develop Nintendo's arcade games like Donkey Kong, Mario Bros., and Popeye, and handheld systems including the Game & Watch line and later the Game Boy and the Virtual Boy. R&D 2, mainly, we're not talking about them here, but they mainly focus on like developing the home console. So R&D 1, so aka number 1 for Nintendo, was all about that handheld market. In 1986, R&D 1 and Intelligent Systems released Metroid for the Family Computer Disk System in Japan, and 1987 for the NES in America. Unlike most action games at the time, Metroid had a major emphasis on exploration, backtracking, and collecting power-ups to advance through otherwise inaccessible areas.
You ever played the first Metroid?
I played a bit of it. I played the remake instead. The remake is my favorite Metroid.
I'm about to say, I think I would stick with it. I tried to play it not long ago. It's not a bad game. It's just so dated that it's hard to go back to.
It didn't age well. But at the time, it was a huge hit. A phrase we don't say enough regarding Metroid, sadly. Metroid was also notable for giving gaming one of its first female protagonists in Samus Aran. A sequel, Metroid 2 Return of Samus, was released on the Game Boy in 1991. Reception was quite high at the time, with reviewers lauding the game's graphics and gameplay. However, retrospective reviews would be less kind to the game, sadly.
I went back and played that not long ago too. And
Yeah.
it's that one is a little bit easier to go back to.
It's better. The problem is, if it had a map, the game would be astronomically better.
Yeah.
And there is multiple remakes of that, including AM2R and Samus Returns on the 3DS.
Which I imagine have maps.
Yeah, they absolutely have maps.
Yeah, probably makes that a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. This was not the case for the next game in the series, being harsher in retrospective. Metroid 3, aka Super Metroid, was released in 1994, and that game was met with critical acclaim as well as stood the test of time. Yoshio Sakamoto was the developer for both Metroid titles before Super Metroid. He was made the developer of the project, innovating the series in smart ways. And have you played Super Metroid?
I have. I don't think I ever like got super deep into it.
Okay, I finished Super Metroid.
I've played a bunch of. I played a bunch of Metroids around the time Dread got announced, and I just fiddled with a bunch of stuff. I never like sat down and knocked any of them out.
Gotcha. So while Super Metroid did well commercially, sales were on a downward slope, and to this day, Super Metroid sold the least compared to the other games in the mainline Metroid series. That's not including remakes or spin-off like the Prime series. Just calling the original releases of Metroids 1 through 5, Dread being 5, Super Metroid is the least selling. And
It's a little muddied though, like I said, because Prime is its own thing. Then the Game Boy ones are their own things. Like, I never played those first three, but I played the Game Boy ones. And so it's like, it's kind of like, it's maybe, but man, there's a lot of games that aren't quote unquote mainline Metroid games.
And it's also worth noting that Metroid games would have a pattern of doing really well in America, but less so in Japan, no matter what the series, until it seems like this most recent Metroid Renaissance is whenever it's starting to finally gain traction in Japan, and that seems like long overdue at this point. And because of that, the series remained dormant from 1994 until March 2001, when a new Metroid game was announced at Nintendo's Camp Game Boy Advance press event.
Rumors have been 10 times fast.
Nintendo Camp Game Boy Advance press event. That hurt one time.
Please don't.
Rumors had been circulating beforehand that the game would be a port of Super Metroid, but Ken Lobb of Nintendo America set the record straight. Metroid is not Super Metroid, it's something new, and that they would have more to show at E3. However, all that was shown at E3 was a short, early build of the game that showed a dark-suited Samus walking on walls, as well as the game's working title, Metroid 4. Multiple outlets expressed their disappointment with the reveal, because I believe it was shown in one of the highlight reel things, and it was only an 8-second clip of Metroid 4. And if you hear, oh, we're going to show more at E3, and you only get 8 seconds of a working title and alpha footage, that's not really what you want to see.
Well,
there.
Yes and no. I mean, I feel like that works now. I mean, how many people are freaked the hell out anytime like Elden Scrolls shows like it's the logo now, and people are like like I feel like
the early logo for Fusion was the most 2000s thing possible. It looked like spray painted Metroid with 4 behind it. It looked more like Street Fighter art than it did Metroid. It was interesting. So 1 year later at E3 2002, the game has a final title, Metroid Fusion, and was paired with a gameplay teaser that showed a much more realized game. The building blocks of Fusion's development were not taken from Super Metroid, but instead Wario Land 4, since this was R&D 1's first title on Nintendo's new Game Boy Advance. This means that the game was developed for portable play in mind, offering a more linear mission-based structure compared to the vast open Super Metroid. The team created animated cutscenes for the game as a means of telling its more direct story, something we didn't really see at Metroid, where the story was more set dressing and told through more gameplay sequences.
Yeah, because there was a straight up villain in this.
Yeah.
Like, those are reoccurring. It's not just like a boss. It was a reoccurring villain. I just had a weird flashback.
There's a story to this game.
We were flashback of sitting in the back of a minivan playing this game.
Oh man, that's the best place to play this. Metroid Fusion released on November 17th, 2002, the same day as Metroid Prime. That is the best day in history for Metroid fans. You get 2 awesome games on the same day. Both games released to very high praise and are seen as some of the best games on their respective platforms, the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance. The Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences awarded Metroid Fusion the award for Handheld Game of the Year. Metroid Fusion can be played on the Game Boy Advance, the Wii U Virtual Console, the 3DS Virtual Console only through the Ambassador Program, meaning if you have a 3DS, a launched 3DS, Nintendo basically made an apology after a price cut saying, we're sorry that you paid more price for this. You're now a 3DS ambassador. You get stuff that will never be released anywhere else. Those people got a list of games, including, I believe, Link to the Past was one, and I could be wrong there, but Metroid Fusion was one of the games, and it was never made available digitally for the 3DS, aside from the ambassador program. Yeah, Nintendo's treated Metroid pretty weird over the years.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here going, like, it just feels like that's like, no, just give them Metroid Fusion. I mean, this high-quality, amazing video game. Yes.
Yeah. Are you implying Nintendo made
I'm saying that Nintendo has some
decision?
hate. I'm saying Nintendo got some hate for our girl there, and I don't appreciate it, because I love these Metroid games on Game Boy.
And as we said earlier, it's also available on the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pass as of today. And
it's also available with the guy from Etsy who would make you a cart for like $20.
Yeah, that's another part of this conversation. Separate from this conversation, did you know that Game Boy Advance games are incredibly easy to emulate and can play on almost anything with a screen? I'm not saying that about this game. I'm just saying that in general. Because emulators themselves are legal.
You know about that calculator you got sitting on your desk at work? That could probably play Metroid Fusion.
It probably can.
You only need 4 buttons. You need 4 buttons and something that's like a D-pad. Call it a day.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm saying that as something separate. I'm not saying that in relation to Metroid Fusion.
No, we're just saying... We're saying 2 different statements. We're saying that Metroid Fusion exists, and then we're saying that in relation of games for the Game Boy is pretty damn easy. That's always it.
Yeah, if you connect those things, it's your problem.
That seems like you. Why are you the weirdo connecting these things? It feels like you are the one with the problem. We're just asking questions. Seems to work for everybody else nowadays, so we'll just pull that off ourselves.
This game is 5 hours long, so it's a one-shot. We haven't had one of those in a while. And spoiler alert, as soon as this thing becomes available on Nintendo Switch Online, I am going to play the crap out of this thing.
I feel like it's going to be a breezy 5 hours.
I'm very excited for this.
I'm excited for it also. It's been a very long time since I've played this, but I have nothing but fond memories. I have a fun story about how I acquired my copy of Metroid Fusion, but I'm not entirely sure if I should tell it on the show or not. So I'll make that decision. I'll make that decision by next time. By next time.
Cliffhanger. That's a cliffhanger if I ever heard
If you want to hear my story that has all sorts of drama and intrigue and shady deals and Mountain Dew cap contest for the ACC tournament.
What?
And, it's got everything, boys. It got everything. If you want to hear that story, you can.
This is more politically complex than a Splinter Cell game.
It's got more to it, to be honest with you. There's more twists and turns, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sure if I should tell it or not. So we'll make that decision by next show.
Might need to make a phone call, be like, "Hey, can I tell this story?"
Yeah, I have to get approval from a couple of people before I can tell the story. But yeah, Metroid Fusion. It's gonna be fun. That would be our next game. I think it'll be a bang up time. It'll also be our first Game Boy game we ever done for this show, which is we every once in a while we'll walk a weird one in.
Yeah, I have a feeling once we play this, we'll be like, man, we should play more Game Boy games.
There's a lot of great Game Boy Advance games. That's one of the biggest I don't even know what happened to them all, but I lost a bunch of my Game Boy Advance games because I had them outside the box, obviously, in one of those like little container, like little packs that held your system and your charger and all your games. And somewhere down the line, that thing got knocked over or something, and I lost a bunch of them in a move. And it's kind of heartbreaking, to be honest with you, because I had a ton of great stuff, man. Plus a lot of crap too, because I used to raid those dollar bins at the Funko Land, and I had a bunch of shit that I bought too.
I had some bad Game Boy Advance games.
Did you have Tony Hawk for the Game Boy Color?
I did not have Tony Hawk for the Game Boy Color. I had Shrek Castle in the Castle.
Okay. That's a game.
It is a game. It's bad. And because I was a kid growing up in peak GameCube era Game Boy Advance, I had like every Sonic Game Boy Advance game.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Sonic Advance 1 and 2 are high quality video games. They're probably the best. They're probably the best 2D Sonics. I'll say that.
Did you have any of the Game Boy, like the Nintendo, the original NES games released on the Game Boy for like full price?
I did not know.
Yeah, they did that for a while.
I saw those at the store, but I was like, why do I want to play? Why would I want to play this?
You get them in the Funko Land bargain bin, which was just like a big empty box that was filled up with junk. It's like, hey man, it's like $2 if you can find it. Because they also had like PlayStation 2 games and stuff in there, so all the Game Boy games got pushed to the bottom, and it'd just be PlayStation 2s on top. So you had to do some digging to get that stuff. But like I said, it was like $5 for like a bunch of games. I had a great time.
You're panning for gold there.
Yeah, when Funko Land got bought out by EB Games, I was very upset.
And then when EB Games got bought up by GameStop, I was also...
Yeah, it just got worse. Funko Land, though, man. Funko Land was the bomb. I love Funko Land. You want to get me a T-shirt someday that's just a Funko Land employee shirt, I'll have a ball.
I'm sure those exist on eBay somewhere.
I'm sure they do, but they probably got like sweat stains and all that stuff. People freaking own them. stateofthesave@gmail.com is the email address. At State of the Save on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. You can see saved catalog of micro streams on the YouTube channel if you'd like to check those out. You can also make sure to follow us on all of the social media platforms. Probably the best place would be the TikTok. And as always, thank you guys and stay safe out there.